Hi everybody, welcome to the stream. So, the game compiles. Yes, so last time we got the game to compile but it crashed, and I found out why it crashed. So I'll explain it here. I did end up fixing it, it was very easy. So, basically, inside of our effect types class, or excuse me, inside the effect class, wherever that went, inside effect.h, we had, under effect data, we had a float pointer. Hi, Evie! Yeah, Evie's back there. Yeah, boy! This boggles my amateur mind. Very cool. Oh, thanks. Welcome. But yes, so we had a float pointer here originally, and of course pointers can be null, and we actually assume it was called lifetime, but it was a pointer into whatever was stored in here's lifetime variable. I realized that was actually a poor design decision because we ended up making this optional, which means to find out if an effect is alive, we just checked if this thing is populated or not. So the new paradigm became to decide if a effect is dead or alive, we just check to see if this optional contains anything inside of it. So the only thing we changed was we got rid of the pointer. Instead, we used the effects state, whether or not it has anything in it, to determine if the variable is alive or not. And with that, that pretty much fixed everything. Luckily, all the standard visit stuff works, so we're pretty much good to go. And all that's left now is to actually do the unit testing portion, which we're going to write today. And for the unit testing, the whole reason we have to do it is because we're actually not sure if the system works correctly. We have a couple of test cases we're going to make today. And there's a couple things we have to fix because we switched over to a new effect refactored system. So we're going to go over to the unit testing project, and the first thing I'm going to do is actually try to build it. And there will be a couple of errors because it's using some of the old stuff. Mostly we were using weak pointers before instead of references. So we're going to have to fix that. And then we'll go from there and write some unit tests today to determine if our new effect system refactor we've done over the last week is actually working as it's supposed to do. So just to summarize what the new system does, inside of effect.h, if I go back to it, we have our effect manager class now. It contains two static arrays which hold all the background and foreground effects of our game now. Because they are arrays instead of vectors, they are allocated on the stack instead of the heap. Additionally, we no longer use pointers inside as the data type. We now use actual classes. And this means on top of the array being stack allocated, the actual items inserted into the array are also already stack allocated. Because arrays are a fixed size, effect data is a known size, and we have a fixed amount of data that can fit in the array. So all this is stack allocated beforehand. Effect data contains the effect itself, which is now an effect T, and an effect T is actually a standard variant containing all the possible types that an effect could be. A standard variant is essentially a union, and so it takes on the size of the largest member within its variant. So you can see here we have a bunch of effects, and these are all derived types from the base type called effect. And so if all of these are in here, it's entirely possible for us to use inherited virtual functions to call specific versions of like update and draw that we might be interested in. Object inheritance. But we're not actually using pointers anymore, which is kind of a requirement if you're going to go for inheritance. So now that we're doing it this way, we switched over to a new system where we actually have these overloads for these two functions. And if you provide a list of potential matches, these are templates, so for each one of these variants, it generates one type of these functions. We get an update and a draw call function specifically, as these are function operator overloads. So we then provide a standard visit function. And the standard visit, if we look here under update effects, is going to be called for every single effect. This is surrounded by a for each, and it's going to do a standard visit. All the effect overloads that we created are inside the struct, so we supply the struct with all those overloads, and then we supply the effect itself, and then we just have this here, which is an extra argument we're passing into the update function. And so with this all passed in, standard visit goes and looks and tries to match it. So regardless of what the type of effect is, it could be like a fire effect, it could be that meteor effect, it could be the fade-in effect. No matter which one it is, it'll figure out which overload it wants to use and then call the appropriate function. And this lets us keep that inheritance structure without having to rely on pointers, which are heap allocated, which is very bad for a particle system, while still allowing us to provide a branching set of behaviors that we would want using the traditional inheritance hierarchy. So we kind of get the best of both worlds in that sense, because I didn't want to refactor all the update functions, and essentially standard visit is like a fancy switch statement if we were to have like a bunch of different types and we were trying to figure out which function we should call. It's essentially helping us do that, but better. So that's some not necessarily the most modern, but more modern C++ practice that we put in. Let's go ahead and look at what errors we're getting. Now we're onto the unit testing project. Oh, okay, so this is a more recent development, but I had to do this for the debug build as well. The object file is too big to compile, so we have to actually compile it now with the command line parameter /big obj. So I have to go into the unit testing Adventures in Listoria project, and I have to go under C++, under all command line, and I just have to add here /big obj, so that when it compiles, it can actually produce OBJ files that are larger than, I think it was supposed to be like, instead of having like 32,000 whatever they called them, like units or something, now it's like 1 million. So there's much more room, or symbols, yeah, there's much more room for more symbols in one OBJ file. And supposedly, I guess that's supposed to help without the flag, it's just supposed to help reduce like having gigantic OBJ files, which would naturally result in longer link and compile times, but in this case we're gonna need it, so it's just like a restriction. I also think it might be like a 32-bit system restriction, so that was another thing too. I briefly read up on it one day. We ran into it before another reason. It was just I was doing some like header recursion, but now that we have these like template classes being generated, I think it just results in more stuff being made, and that's probably why we're having those issues. So now we're just waiting for another compile to finish, but yeah, over the last week and a half, we did do that effect refactor, and that's been going great. So I'm glad everything worked out. The game does run now, and I probably should have ran it before I did this, but basically everything's back to the way it was before we started this, but everything's stack allocated now. Now, does that mean it's faster? Well, I hope so. That was the whole point of doing this. So maybe we can look at that real quick after. But essentially what I did before was I made it spawn 1,000 like lightning bolt particles at once, and it would just like freak out and die, right? So maybe now it won't do that. So we have a build succeeded. Oh, We have to switch projects. This was just for the main project. We need to build the actual Adventures in Listoria test, which is supposed to result in a compile error because it's using some of the old systems before the refactor. So we do have to fix that before we continue. So we should get a couple of complaints here in just a second. At least I hope so, because weak pointers are not a thing anymore for the effect system. And yeah, here we go. So there's probably also a couple of things with the includes, because some of the includes changed when we refactored. So we're gonna have to redo some of these because there were some assumptions with what included what before. So here, for example, we have to include sound effect. You wanna load? For some reason it didn't want to pop up in IntelliSense, but that's okay. Okay, and then we have effect. References must be initialized. So we're over here. These are shared pointers, but they're not shared pointers anymore. Now they're effect references. So I can do effect. Actually, no. These are... This is for every effect in the game. So these are foreground effects array, background effects array. These are effect data elements. So effect data, EFF, but they're in pairs, by the way. So I actually learned something a little recently. We can actually grab either the first or second value in a pair or element, tuple element, I found out using views. So I might go back and refactor the get targets in range function later, because I recall having trouble grabbing like the second value because it was a pair as well. But basically it's standard views elements, and then you're supposed to select which element you want. So I think this is supposed to be an index, so we can do like index 1 to get the second element, and then we'll only grab that one. So everything we're filtering out from then on should work. Argument list for variadic template is missing. Template size. Oh, the size, the index is in here, and it's a function like this. Let me see. For a range, I don't think that's what I wanted. Okay. Let me see. So let me take a look. I just saw it earlier and I'm like, that would be super useful to use. I didn't even... Like, that's what I wanted last week when I was like, how are we going to extract one value from the pair? So this is elements. And it's like, we're looking for like an element view kind of thing. Elements underscore view and elements. So elements n for a range, but because it's a view, I think you can just like, you can string it together with other stuff. You should be able to. So like we look here, yeah, standard viewed elements provide a number for the template and it should just extract on its own. At least in theory it should. Because in this scenario, VT is a vector of tuples, 3 values. So getting the first element or the second value in the list. So we should be doing the same thing here. So I wonder why that doesn't work unless I'm doing something incorrectly, which I don't think I am. So anyway, let me see. Let's keep going. Let's do the rest of it first. So effect data, we're essentially just making sure that they are monster souls or not. So effect, we need to wrap it around EFF to extract EFF dot effect, but only if it's valid, which means we need to make sure it's alive. I don't know if we check if it's alive. Habibu, welcome to the stream. And yeah, I don't think we check if it's alive. Like, get all effects. Does this assume the effect is alive? Let me see. Get foreground effects. Get foreground effects, returns foreground effect. Yeah, it doesn't... There's no assumption on whether or not they're alive or not. I think originally we want to know whether or not they are alive, which is interesting. Are you asking how are you or how am I good? Because those are two different questions. I am doing well though, thank you. I hope you're doing well as well. Yeah, I'm not sure if I should only return alive effects. I kind of feel like I should. But then again, we can do that here too. So I guess let's first extract all alive effects only. That would be great. So we have to say EFF.effect and then extract that dot get type is equal to monster soul. I think that's the way we have to go. And then after that, we just have to figure out this part, because this is supposed to be a pair, right? So a pair, get the first element, and this is an array. So that should be a range. At least I think it should be a range. Yeah, it's just an array of effect data. So extract one element, the first item in these. Like I should be able to do, or the 0th element, either way works. Maybe I should try building this and see what it complains about. Because to me this looks correct. But maybe I'm missing something. Because these are standard pairs, so I would expect that to work. Let me see. Let me see. It just says effects. Oh, binary no operator taken. There's no acceptable conversion. Let's see. Maybe we can figure out what's going on. Alright, so constant range views elements function. Not sure what's going on there, but this is supposed to be okay. I'm a little confused. It's like, I think it's supposed to just extract all the elements directly and return... Oh, it returns a different value. So I have to take it from there and do something with them. So like, this for loop ends right here, and then I have to like, I either filter it again or do something else with it. So it's like, I have to filter before I grab the element. I don't think that makes total sense. Like, I would rather just filter it. I'm trying to think how I want to do this. So it's almost like I just have to split them up, and then I can do whatever I want afterwards. So it's like, we're literally doing this, right? We have get all effects, views elements 0, which is like getting everything in the first part of the pair. Does it just not know how to do this? Like, auto foreground elements? Like, that. This should be what it is. Like, this is the foreground list. But it's not accepting this. And I don't know why. Because it's a pair. Does it have to be a tuple? Maybe it has to be a tuple. Like, what if I just change it, right? Just in theory, what if I change it? Standard tuple. I doubt this makes a difference, though. Also, isn't a tuple supposed to be, like... I don't know if a tuple can be... I think a tuple can be any number of elements. I'm pretty sure that's the definition of a tuple. It doesn't look like it changes anything here. So I'm not sure what's going on. But it's not quite... It's not giving. Okay, maybe that's not the play. Alright, well... I thought that was how I was going to use this, but apparently not. Let's take a look at our example project and maybe play with it for a minute. Because it should really be, in theory, that simple. But maybe I'm not understanding something here. Okay, so... let's say we have... So we have our test vec here. That's useful. Let's turn it into like pairs of stuff. Let's just make it a standard pair of 2 items, maybe test and an int or something. And then let's change these into initializer lists that contain a number after them. It's like test 1, test 2, test 3. Then down here, let's try to extract them using standard views elements. Standard views elements. And then we do something like elements 0, right? And so that seems to work. But what's the difference? I mean, it's a vector, right? What if we did an array that contains, you know, the exact amount? I think it can auto-deduce, I would hope. Maybe not. I think it no. Anyway, let's just do that then. So it's an array of 3 elements. 1, 2, 3. No defined conversion. It should figure out how to cast this. I think I have to do another one. Yeah. So this also looks like it works. And I can just do element E inside of this, which will end up being like if I do a for loop here. This would generate all the test elements when it iterates through E, as I assume it does. Maybe not. It says auto doesn't expected a colon. Wait. Oh. Yeah. I did that wrong. Okay, anyway. If I do the first element instead, we'll end up with the numbers, right? At least that's what should happen. Which are printable. So we should expect 1, 2, 3. And that does compile. So the question is, what is different, right? What's happening? Well, it's I don't know, honestly. Like, are these... Yeah, I don't... So I don't see anything in particular that would prevent us from doing this. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Maybe, it doesn't know this is a thing? Like, we don't have include ranges? We do have include ranges, so that is there. It is a standard pair. Does it know what foreground effects array and background effects array are? I'm pretty sure it does. The whole point is that the usings are in the thing that requires them. So they are there. Which means we're pretty much doing the exact same thing. Like, unless it's const, which I doubt. I don't think that matters. Like, does it matter if the function is const? Like, maybe that's the issue? I don't think that would matter. There's nothing else I could think of that would cause problems here. Yeah, that didn't change anything. So for some reason, using standard views elements here doesn't work. I guess the only other thing is this array is const, but I don't think that matters. Like, I can make it non-const and that's fine. Right? And then I guess this is... Oh, I'm not... This isn't a range. Oh, I just realized this is just a pair with 2 lists in it. And I'm trying to iterate over it. Okay, that's why. I'm not iterating over ranges. Okay, this makes more sense. So what we could do is... Yeah. Okay, this makes way more sense now. Go back. So we can do this. This is fine, but we're not doing this part of it. Because that's only for ranges, and this isn't a range, right? We can just grab the first one, which is the foreground view, and say we're going to access this range, which then... Let me see, the standard pair... Is that not how we... Oh, it's not an array, so we have to do like standard get, right? Standard get 0, or we can do dot first. I guess either one works. I think I like standard get 0 here. I think that's how you use that. Yeah. Standard get on a pair or a tuple should get us that. Okay, so that the compiler looks happier about that. I forgot double ampersand there for operator. And this needs a dot. I feel like I undid a bunch of stuff by accident, and so we're back here now. Okay, so this is looking good. And then, so that's good. I'm going to condense this line a little. So then we can do this twice, because we have to do this for both the foreground effect list and the background effect list, right? So we have to do it like this. Yeah. So just check both. If either asserts failed, then it didn't work for that function. And then what else do we have a problem with? So again, we have to do it for both. So like, is this like a usage issue? Is like get all effects being problematic by me providing a pair instead of like combining them together? Like, I'm kind of annoyed that they're not together, right? But at the same time, since they are separate lists, I just don't want to have to deal with like any copies. These should just be references, right? At least that's the goal, is they should just be references. Are these references? They are... Oh, they are, yes. But, wait a second. But they're getting copied, aren't they? They are. So these should be reference wrappers. Yeah, these should be reference wrappers. We should change this. I don't want copies. If we get copies, then we're just wasting, like... We're just wasting memory. We're wasting memory and compute. For basically no reason. So I'm going to change these to say they're array refs. That way we know they're supposed to be references and they're not necessarily copies of the arrays. And then so these are now reference wrappers to these arrays. Reference wrapper. Like so. Then we come back in here. These are... still fine, because they will auto-convert to reference wrappers. So now we're back here, and we have to say, okay, get the first element, and then those are reference wrappers, so you do .get afterward. It's a little bit silly, we have to do .get in a bunch of places, but it does work. So I think that's fine. Again, we don't use this much, mostly just for testing, so I think this is okay to do, and that's a little verbose. So we have to do this for here as well, like so. And then we change this to be effect data. We can keep this const, that's fine. Const effect data effect, and then we have to do EFF. We have to make sure the effect is alive first, so we have EFF.effect and EFF dereference, EFF.effect, then convert and find the variant, and then .get type. And we're good there. And then this would mean we found a soul. So I wonder if we should change this just to have the logic be different, right? So essentially we are, if we don't find anything, we're in trouble. So we should say like drop while get type is equal to monster soul. That way we have a for loop that only has the effects of anything that's not a monster soul, and then that means we didn't find one, right? All right, let me think about that. So we're trying to make a loop where anything that is, if we find souls, no, if we don't find souls, we're supposed to assert. If we don't find souls. So the moment we find a soul, so we drop anything that's not a soul. Okay, so we can do that. That's fine. So instead of filter, let's use drop while. And then just say drop anything that is not a monster soul, right? So then if we find a monster soul, it populates the list. Or is that the opposite we want? I think that's the opposite we want. Yeah, so if it's not a monster soul, then we failed the assert, right? But if it is a monster soul, we get rid of it, and we found one. But then we're just done. Like, we're just looking for one, right? So it's more like this. It's like, find one monster soul, and we only need one. So, filter. Okay, I think this is fine. We can just do that. And then we can just break out of it. We only need one. I'm trying to think if there's a better way to have that happen, but not really. I mean, we could do take one, but then what's the point, right? We already found one, so just break after. But it's like views filter. I guess if we say take one, then once we find one, it stops looking, right? Like, I think that's the implication. So we do save compute if we just take one. So take one. Okay. I think that's the implication. And then if not found soul, it will assert. Are we still erroring up here? Oh, we are. What is going on here? It's like I cut this off somewhere. What was this before? So before... Oh. It looks like I just deleted a whole line. Oopsies. Well, that would have been important, right? Because that literally checks if the souls generate from that ring. So yeah, that would have just broken the test completely. Okay, so that's good now. Now we're down here. Same thing. If we find a soul, it means it was not collected. So then a monster soul has not disappeared after colliding with the player. So we have to do essentially the same thing. So we can look through this and look through this. So we say, if not found soul, we also try another for loop. To try and see if it's in the other list. And then we're down here, and we effectively do a check on both lists. So standard, get the first element. Get on the reference wrapper. These are now affect data structures. And we check both lists to see if they exist. And then we should be okay there. We just have to fix this now. Let's make sure the effect is alive and the effect's type is equal to a monster soul. Okay. Alright. So that's almost done with this file. There's a little bit more. Okay, down here, there should be no background effects. Okay, so we have a function for this. It's not this though. It's called effect manager. It should be like get background effect count or something. Yeah. So we made this in order to be a replacement for the old checking the size of an array, because now the array will always be size 1000. It will never change, so you can't test if the amount of alive effects are due to this. It doesn't work like that. So we have to do it this way instead. So this file is now fixed, or at least updated to the new refactored code. So what's next? Alright, looks like we got a couple more errors. So, standard ranges copy, binary. No operator found. This is on line 4624 of Adventures in Listoria.cpp, which is kind of weird, right? Because before, this was working, so we definitely broke it compared to before. Let's take a look. So, get effect, found effects. Alright, so something's not quite working here. What is it complaining about? I think it's just complaining that these don't. Oh, because we changed it. Right, this just doesn't work, period, now that we have reference wrappers. So, does it make more sense to do first and second? I don't know. I guess I should do it that way, honestly. It's just less verbose, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, first and second dot get now, because they're reference wrappers, followed by whatever we need to in here. So, just a little fix there. This is a little cleaner, if I'm being completely honest. Maybe we'll go back and fix the actual test where we did that. Just for the sake of making sure that we're kind of following the same thing wherever we write code, right? We don't want to write it in like 5 different ways and it's just inconsistent. It's just confusing for no reason. So, Reaper of Souls check. Let's see here. So I'm gonna replace these with dot first and dot second, like so. These aren't game get all effects either. At least I don't think so. No, they are. They are. We didn't change that, right? Yeah. That part didn't change, it was just IntelliSense is being slow. Do the same here. Yeah, it's a little less verbose. I think in the end, this makes more sense. I don't know, I was just overcomplicating it earlier. Just fine, that happens. One more time right here. Cool. Alright, what's next? So now, we have the same thing going on somewhere else, it looks like. Or I didn't recompile or something. Let me see, because this is good now. At least it should be. Alright. We'll probably get more errors in other areas. Unrelated. It just says one succeeded. Oh, I think it actually built. Like, the unit test suite built. Okay. So, I think while we are writing the next set of unit tests, we also run our current unit tests. I think that would be a good idea. Also, it doesn't say any are found. Am I running the right thing? I did a build. I hope it... Oh, I must have not built in here. Okay, so it's probably confused, yeah. It was probably just building, like, the general project and not the unit testing project. There we go. Alright, so now we're in enchant tests. Let's see here. Did I mess up? I did. I forgot to remove some parens. So that isn't anything new. That was just me being silly. And then what? Surely there's more. Oh, no, we succeeded. Cool. Okay, so what I was saying earlier was we should run all of our... All tests have been filtered... Oh, okay, go back. So we might as well run all the tests right now just to make sure the game still, like, functions as it previously did. And then we'll write the new set of unit tests we're interested in. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Just let that run in the background, and we'll start writing code for our new unit tests for our new effect system. So I'm gonna go to... Maybe I should make a new test category. I'm trying to see. Because these don't really fit in anything in particular. It really needs to be a new file. So we're gonna go for a new one. Which shouldn't be too hard to set up. We just have to make sure we do the right things. So we got enchant tests... or not enchant, effect tests.cpp. A unit test module only for effects. Let's go ahead and close other tabs. We have way too many tabs open. Just clean up a little bit. I like to do that every once in a while. Also, our output is sitting in a bad place. Okay, cool. Ooh, operator called on an empty optional. Did I forget to check if it was empty? Call stack. I probably did. Okay, so before, right, we were just calling whatever, but now it's a little different because it's based on... It's not necessarily that the effect is alive, although if we get the effect, it should only be for stuff that's alive. So let's take a look. So here, oh, well, we're not in debug, so this might actually not help us, but let's take a look. So this was called game get effect portal. So it didn't find any portals, which is like, okay, but why didn't it find any portals? Let's see. Get effect. We were right here, so found effects, the size was 0. It wasn't here. Yeah, we didn't check if the effects were alive before we did get type. So, because of that, it crashed, which is fine. That's just a mistake on my part. We have to always make sure it's alive before we get the effect. And maybe that makes me think we have to change how we actually do this. Like, this is kind of dangerous that we have to essentially do this every time before we can just grab it like this. And I should remember whenever I use this operator that we do that, but what if we dummy-proof it? I'd rather it be dummy-proofed so I don't have to think about that. In the future, let's say I come back to this 6 months from now, and I write some new code, and I'm just like, oh, it's in an optional, let me just grab it, and forget to check the optional, right? So I feel like that should be dummy-proofed down. It always feels like that for things like this. So I think we're gonna go for that. So let's go to the effect data class. And I'm just gonna go over here. And let's say that in order to access effect, we can't do this publicly. Like, let's just say it's not reachable and that we have to do it privately. So let's divide this up. I know this is a struct, so these are already public, but I'm going to now divide this up into having one set that's public, the constructors, of course, and then I'm going to have the effect itself be private. And the only way to get access to it is through, essentially we have to do a, like, a lock or something. Like, I'm thinking like weak pointer style, right? In order to actually access the effect, you have to know that it exists. I guess we could also say like, and or... I'm just trying to think, what can we do here to make this make sense? It's like, is there a way to dummy-proof it? Can we dummy-proof it in one go? I don't know. I really don't know. There might not be a way, honestly. We might just have to respect that's an optional, in that we have to be careful if we use shortcuts. Like, I don't really think there's a way I can dummy-proof it, because either way, like, let's say I make a lock, right? And the lock is the only way to get to the effect get. Will that make me more aware, is the question, right? Will it make me more aware? I don't know. And maybe I don't care to add that extra layer of complications. And just assume that we're going to always do this correctly. I think that's a pretty safe assumption. Most of this only happens in the base code. Where we get references is always from add effect. So internally, we're never going to do something like this. We're only going to do this in the deep in the engine's code. So I think we're okay there. And that might be the only place where this happens. Okay, so I rebuilt, and I'm gonna go ahead and go to Test Explorer and go ahead and restart the tests. So now that we changed that, it's a little different. And then I just go ahead and let everything run again. And then let's get on to running effect tests. Hopefully it doesn't stop in the middle again. And we'll just let that run. Okay, I will leave... Yeah, that's fine. I kind of wanted to have the Test Explorer over there, but I think I have to... Let me see. View... Test Explorer... Yeah, I figured. I don't think we can get another window here. Oh, move to new window? Well, I don't want to move it to new window. I kind of want, like, another one. I want, like, 2? I can't have 2. Visual Studio won't let me. Okay, anyways, let me just put that back. So yeah. Anyways, that's running. Back over here, let's get our unit test started for that. I'm just gonna grab... Let's just grab enchant test. I think that's a good middle ground. So, let's see here. Let's just go ahead and pretty much set up the framework very similarly. I'm not going to grab any of the includes, we'll just redo those as we go. But all the initialization stuff we can take. So we'll at least have this much. And we'll probably want the copyright. Let's get the copyright stuff. We should be okay there. Eevee! Yeah, Eevee! I love my Eevee. Oh, hey. I think Natima is what I'm calling you. Is Eevee a Pokemon? Yeah. He's a cute Pokemon. Very dog-coded. I think that's why a lot of people like Eevee. Anyways, why isn't this working? I'm not sure why that doesn't work yet, but we'll find out soon. Oh, I have to include a CVP unit testing. That's right. So I might as well just include all the includes from here, right? Because we can assume it's the same thing. Enchant test. Yeah, I'm just gonna do that. That makes sense. Although it says we're not using damage number and we're not using format, I might as well get rid of those. I like that it does that now. Oh, Natty? Okay, I thought so. You as a fox? I mean, fox coded too. Okay, cool. It actually says we don't need these right now, so I'm gonna remove them until we actually need them. Cool. So, player initialize. This is going to be, so instead of enchant, this is going to be effect test cleanup. And this is effect... I don't know what's called player initialize. It's not really player, it's effect test initialize. That's probably just left over from before. Anyway, we have those, we have those. Close out everything, and now we're pretty much ready to write our unit test, so let's do it. So our first unit test is going to be make sure the counts return 0, just like they're initialized by default. So effects start empty. Effect list. Start empty. So for this one, we're just going to assert that both lists are indeed of size 0. So we need a size t of 0. That's the expected. And the actual value comes from effect manager. Get background effect count. And then we gotta do one for foreground. So the assumption is we have to do a wide string. Background effects list initializes as size 0. And then we do the same but for foreground instead of background. Also, it looks like unit tests aren't crashing anymore, so that's good. Oh. We do have some failed tests though, so that's interesting. Maybe everything related to effects. Let's see. Expected 1, actual was 0. Okay. So, definitely some kind of behavior changed. It says there should have been a background effect there. This one actually crashed. Crash, crash, crash. Okay, a lot of crashes with .ats. Probably no checks on, like, whether it was alive or not. Okay, so quite a bit of behaviors are broken now, which, fair. This was a very large refactor, so a lot of internal stuff changed. So that's good to know. Our effect system is definitely not working as intended right now. Anyway. So these two tests are now in. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll let it finish. I think it's like mostly done. Oh no, we're only like 120. We're only halfway done. Let's work on these. This is the enchants are most of the effect related stuff. So let's start there. So for this one, it just outright says that there isn't an effect when this happens. So that's right here. Or is it here? This one. Black hole enchant check. So it says there should be a background effect after performing this ability. Given we have the equip. So let's go ahead and take a look at the witch code real quick. Because this is for a... No, it's for a wizard, excuse me. So a wizard with the black hole enchant using the defensive ability. So if we look in here under right click and we're looking for if we have the black hole equip, which is going to be right here. So this would have to trigger and then this whole thing happens. Okay, so what is going on here? It does come with some kind of... It looks like it comes with the particle generator as well, which is cool. Okay, so a lot to look at here. Let's just breakpoint right here and start there. So I'm gonna go ahead and rerun this function. And we'll start there. Start figuring out what's going on. Probably a lot of the other crashes, either this will reveal like a lot of what's going on or some other stuff will. Oh, we actually get a syntax error for the thing I made. Let me see. How did I mess this up? Namespace, enchant test needs a semicolon. Okay, I mean, fair. Okay. Rerun this. I think that's all that's required. Unless I need a semicolon here too. It is a class, so maybe I do. Okay, yeah. It's a class wrapped in a macro, so that's why it looks funny. Okay. Anyway, let's go ahead and run it. We should breakpoint there. Like the game should simulate us pressing this button. So, okay. So let's go call add effect. Let's go into add effect and see what happens. Let me just breakpoint into here. Maybe it is a generated function, so I think we're gonna have to. Let me see if it will detect it or if I have to do it myself. This is in line in wizard.cpp. Let me see if it will. If it's here, it is not here. I don't think. T equals black hole. There it is. It was generated right here, so we'll use that one. Okay, so T equals black hole. Let's just go in here. So that hits that breakpoint. And then, okay, so effect list, it is using, in this case, this is, this is a background effect. So it's gonna be added to the background list. So it's gonna iterate until it finds, so the very first item should return true because the first item is blank. Oh, I just went to the next. Oops. Well, I just missed everything, but let's look at the state of effect list. Background effect. So nothing got added. Let's just restart because I messed up. I meant to go inside the loop, not over it. Okay, so we're here. We don't want to be here yet, so disable. We want to be here first, and then we want to be here. And then it should be the black hole effect. Oh, this is a fade in out effect, so this isn't the black hole yet. It probably just makes little particles first. So we want to ignore this until we get to the fade in out effect, or the black hole itself. Let me look at the black hole constructor. So it creates, yeah, it has a particle generator, which presumably makes the particles right away or something. Yeah. Let me take a look at the definition under black hole. So let's just go in here when this gets triggered. Or it just doesn't. Okay. It probably got triggered first. Oh, it is a fade in out effect. It's derived from it. Okay, never mind. Maybe I was right. Alright, one more time. Oh. Okay, so we're in here. Let me just see if we hit... Okay, we hit the constructor. So this is going to... Yeah. So that gets us to here. Which this is... Okay, so it is a fade in out effect. I wonder why it doesn't say black hole. That's kind of interesting. I wonder if it doesn't know it's a black... Like... Is black hole in our list of variants? Is that the issue? It's not in our variant list? It is. I feel like it should match to the black hole, not the fade in out effect instance. At least that's what I'm thinking. I don't know if this actually should... Okay. Okay, so we're in here, right? This is index 0, and this is null opt. So it's gonna return true. And since it returns true, we get to take 1, right? I don't know why it has to go through the whole thing. Drop a while. So it does iterate through everything. Interesting. Well, we kind of needed to do that, right? But anyways, we end up here eventually. In theory? Apparently not. I thought it would return true. So drop while. Oh, we drop... If we return true, then we drop it. So we have to do the opposite. We have to return false to not drop it if it isn't alive. Because we have to find a new slot. Okay. So basically, we were never going to return true because everything was dead. So we were never creating effects. So that probably will fix it, actually. Let me just rerun it now. So that should fix that one. Unless we have something else weird going on. Oh, wonderful thing about templates, now that we're using it, if we change the code, full recompile. Gotta love C++. But then again, we probably won't be touching this code once we actually fix all the bugs, so this will live for quite a while. Although technically, we will be changing variants every once in a while, so that will still happen a little often, which means we have to recompile any template functions. I don't know if that requires a full recompile. It's like, we basically tell it, hey, generate more functions on top of the, like, would an incremental build be possible just by changing the variants? That is an interesting question. I guess we'll find out one day when we have to do it. But if we're adding a new effect, we're probably adding new functionality to the game engine, which means we're probably recompiling the whole thing anyway. So I think the point is moot. But yeah. Should be done soon. Soon. And what's funny is I actually got this computer like 2 years, it's like 2 years old now. I actually got this computer as my project progressed because the compile times were too long on my old computer. This computer has a really good processor, not like the best nowadays because it's like 2 years old, but a good enough processor to where it was significantly faster, where I went from having like 5-minute builds to having like a 1-minute build at that point in time. Now we're back up to like a 3-minute build at this point in the project. So it's like, can I really get a computer that would make this any faster? Probably, but yeah. But it is C++ as well, so it is expected to compile quite a while anyway. Sadly, that's just how it is. Alright, so this test is now... Oh, we're stuck because we're on breakpoints still. Now... Passing! Yay! Okay. Well, let's run the other tests and see if anything cool happens now. I'm assuming these happen because... Wait, expire? Yeah. Because it was expecting these not to be expired. That's probably what happened. Or I assume that's what happened. So it was like, okay, effect list.at, and this slot ID wasn't even like legit. So wait a second, hold on. I think the error is because I didn't or.effect. There's an or here, so this is to determine if it expired. Either it has to, the effect IDs don't have to match, or don't match anymore. I feel like this has to be an ampersand. Okay, well, I guess let's think of it this way. First, the effect has to exist, so it's expired if it doesn't, or the effect IDs don't match. So that's actually the correct logic. That will prevent it from crashing. I don't know why we had .effect in the first place. That doesn't really make sense. So that's actually the correct logic there to prevent the crashes. And that's why these were crashing. Because it was like, okay, let's check if the effects expired, and checking if it expires causes a crash, which is ironic, because all it should be doing is returning a boolean, not messing up the program. So that's funny. And we were checking for the wrong thing. And I wanted to short circuit on this first, because it's more likely that it won't be filled up versus the effect IDs are different. More likely. Got about 30 more minutes of code time. And we'll call it for the day. God, so much recompile times now. I forgot, I should start having snacks, so during recompiles I can eat a snack. It's like, oh, every time we get to a point where we are rebuilding the game, we get a snack break. Because we're basically at that point now. Okay. And then we get to see if these tests pass now. Hopefully they do. I just have it filtered by failing tests, so if they start going away from the list, then we know they're passing. So hopefully that's the case. I will admit, I think adding all these extra templates has slowed down the compilation time. Like, it just feels like that's the case. And I think it's expected, right? We did add a significant amount of templates with this new refactor. Kind of on purpose. So, it looks like these are still failing. Throw bad variant. Ooh, bad variant. This one's just doing something else entirely, yeah. A couple of weird things. Okay, so this is interesting. Let's look at what's happening here. So this is saying it was trying to do standard get 9, and 9 is what? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So another fade in out effect. This is under the blink portal. Okay, so my theory of it, of like fade in out effect being selected, I think is problematic. Let's see what we got. So the idea is the blink portal creates an effect that is a blink portal. And because of that, I think it tries to derive it as a different ability than it actually is. Because I noticed when we saw black hole was created, it didn't create a black hole instance, it created a fade in out effect instance. So I feel like we have some object slicing going on here. But that gets me thinking, like, how does this variant determine which overload to use? Is it just going in order? If it was going in order, why didn't it choose effect for everybody first of all? Right? That got me thinking, like, a little strange, right? Or is it random? If it's random, how am I gonna figure out which... How am I gonna make sure it picks the right overload? Like, I thought the deepest class... The most nested class was assumed to be the class that would automatically overload. So, are we assuming that black hole, like, should be up here? Like, is that gonna change things? I don't know. We gotta find out. Like, that's very interesting. But it's definitely not working as expected, because here we're expecting a fade in out effect. But then let's look at... So this is a wizard still, but it's with the blink portal effect. So here's blink portal, here's add effect. Oh, it does add a fade in out effect. Okay. So we do get one out. And then this is coming out as an effect ref fade in out effect. Okay, so my issue here is I think this right here doesn't work. Well, I mean, yeah, that's what we're assuming, right? Because we got online. What line is this? Line 1210. Oh, okay. Let's back up a little bit. Effect ref get called on effect.h line 88. When we called it in here, did not resolve correctly. So it was looking, it said it was looking for fade in out effect, which sounds correct. Did this return like something different? That's my question. Like, it was trying to access or cast as a fade in out effect variant. So it should have, right? Let me see. So how do we set this? Effect data, here's effect. Effect should be of type T, whatever it's supposed to be, right? Pass it into effect data. Oh, effect data only accepts an effect object. So this effect data constructor has to be templated. That way it can accept other types. Okay, that makes more sense. So let's go to the effect data class. So this has to be a templated function to make this work, which means, so how does this work then? Okay, we just set effect to effect, but effect is an optional, so it can accept any of those variant items. So that's what we're going to be doing. So this is no longer going to be here. It's now going to be a template. So template, more templates, woo! I'm just going to start saying, let's increase our compile times by adding more templates to our project. Non-ironically. Because that's actually what we're doing when we do this. Okay. It's going to be a meme until this project is done. How much worse can our compile time get? Let's find out. Okay, anyway. So we're doing that now. This is now of type T. And so now we won't get object slicing going out of this. So then the .get will actually return the correct object type. So down here, this is no longer matching an effect reference. It's now matching a type T reference. Because that is going to return whatever type T we get out of here. So do I have to... Well, this stays the same. So the get effect is always going to return a base object. It's never going to return that. But the .get, which comes from... crud, where's the .get? .get was... I saw it earlier. Is it effect ref? It is. Okay, effect ref is templated, so it will return the correct base object. What's the current compile time without optimization? Like 4 minutes now. Like I'm about to do it again. So this is for a unit testing build. So it includes extra debug symbols for unit tests. Well, I'm doing a debug build, and then on top, unit testing always requires debug build, and then on top of that, I have to also compile the actual tests, which isn't really that long because it's not any templates or anything. But we're about 4 minutes. Like, I just started it, and it's basically having to rebuild. So, yeah. And because the game engine is very tightly coupled with all the systems in my game, I can't really, like, break off the engine and say, like, oh, let's compile, like, only this part of the engine into, like, a lib or something. And then we won't have to recompile it anymore, unfortunately. I've considered doing precompiled headers. Maybe I should start figuring out where I can do those. Because I think we're at a point where we've isolated a lot of systems. Like, we keep them pretty isolated now. Even though they're coupled, once we coded them once, we don't touch them. So I think precompiled headers might be the next thing we have to look at. Like, so there's not too much more to be added to the game engine-wise. There are like 2 more major systems to add. We have to add some more monster classes, which is fine. That's not too hard. That's just adding to an enum and a couple other places, and then... But yeah. It's like, I expect the compile time of this project by the end of its development to at least get around to the 6-minute mark. For this machine. On my Lynx machine, it takes like 15 minutes right now, because it's just a weaker system. Okay. Visit requires the visit of all potential invocations to have the same type and value category. Wait a second. Am I doing this wrong? Let me see. This is for here. Under... see reference to function template. So... did we change this? Hold on, what did we change? We changed... oh, we changed this one. So now it's sending an effect, but it's of type T. No, because that matches. That should match, in theory. I changed it from this. Okay, let me think about this a little bit more. So... it's the return type it doesn't like? Okay, let me think about this some more. So this error message says, visit requires the result of all potential invocations to have the same type and value category. Type and value category. Trying to think what that means in my head. I don't really understand the wording here. Let's see if we can get another explanation. It requires the result of all potential invocations. Hopefully that's enough to work with. Okay. Let's just copy this. Let me see. Let's just go for that. I want to get the active value in a standard variant without knowing which one is active. I thought I could write template visitor and standard visit, but it doesn't work. MSVC doesn't compile and throws this. What is the return type of standard visit if you don't know what part of the variant is active? That is a question that the compiler must answer, and the answer can't be it depends. You must decide on exactly one type at compile time. The visit call cannot possibly return different types at runtime. If you want to work with different types at runtime, you must be in a function templated on the type you want to work with. There must be different functions to handle the write an int to cout and write a string to cout cases. You cannot do this in the same non-templated function. Put the standard cout into your templated visitor function. That's the point of visiting. Wait a second. So right now, the get effect has a standard visitor, but it's also templated. So I'm trying to, now I need to wrap my head around what this means, because I think I screwed up. Because it's like, okay. If this visit is supposed to return, because we changed this, and the moment we changed this, it became impossible to work with, because now we have a return type that's different, and like it can't figure out which return type it's supposed to use. That's what it's complaining about. Okay, so that makes more sense. I understand that part. However, we need to know, so we're assuming we're always going to return an effect here, which means the .get doesn't work. Or maybe it, okay, hold on, let me think a little bit more about this, because this is templated. So we do know the type, we just have to cast it. Okay, I see now. So this is going to be a standard get... Wait a second, why are we standard getting this? Hold on. What? This is optional. It's like we're... Okay, let me change this. This is like old code. So this isn't good. We're gonna do EFF around this. This gives us the effect. And then from there, let's cast it because we know what the type is. So we know we can dynamic cast this safely. And maybe like we'll just error out if it fails. So let's do a dynamic cast with a throw. So that's my capital dynamic cast I made into type tref. Like so. And then I guess we just return it. But this version of dynamic cast will just throw if it fails. Although it's a reference. Does that even work? Oh, that's not a pointer. So that... Wait, what? Type pointer equals dynamic cast type. So if our type is a reference, what happens? Type pointer. Pointer can't be a null pointer because it's a reference. Like, that doesn't make sense, right? Like, if I just put here, like, effect ref, that's gonna... Isn't that gonna crash? That doesn't make sense, right? That's not... Hold on. Or can type names not have... Yeah, that... I guess that doesn't work. Alright, hold on. But like, this doesn't make sense, right? It's like, this doesn't compile. Because it can't... A reference can't be equal to null pointer, it's not a pointer. How does that work? I guess I could just... grab the address of and do it this way. That's kind of weird. And then dereference it again. I feel like the whole point of this was for the dynamic pointer cast. So can we not determine... Can dynamic cast throw if converting a reference or something? Maybe we can like catch it or something. I don't think I've done this yet. I've done this before. Dynamic cast on CPP ref. Let's see. Because it does return something, and the return value is useful for asserts, which is what I'm interested in. Explanation. Oh, no, because it would set the value, right? The pointer is the return value. It's not like dynamic cast returns a bool or anything. So... If the type of expression... Let me look for a reference specifically, because what happens if it's dead, right? Is it gonna throw or something? Like, surely it still does something. If target type is reference to base, and the type of expression is derived, such that base is a base class of derived, the result is the unique base... Okay, that's fine. Expression must be pointed to an object. If in the row... Okay, we don't care. Oh, here we go. If target is a reference type, an exception of a type that would match a handler of type badcast is thrown. So we would get something we can catch. Or at least it would just throw, which is what we want. We want it to throw if that fails. Let me try it in my example project real quick and see what happens. I just want to make sure this works, right? So we have example A and example... Or we have effect A, which derives from effect. So in theory, if we dynamic cast from effect to A, it should work. But if we try to go to B, it shouldn't work because it's not of that type. So let's try that. Let's say we have an effect A test, and then we do effect T1. We're gonna downcast, so we do a dynamic cast to an effect on test, which should be allowed. There should be no problems with that one. And then we're also going to try an effect T2. And this one, we're going to try upcast to an effect B, and it should throw. Oh, does this just statically resolve? Must have a Oh, is it not polymorphic? It is. Effect P? Effect T2... Oh, wait. Effect B, reference, T2, test is the operand of a runtime must have a effect A is polymorphic, isn't it? Wait. Or is it... Oh, wait. Make this, let's do it from T1. Because effect A... Wait, is that right? I'm confused. I don't know what... Why... Hold on. That doesn't make sense, right? We should be able to dynamic cast up, in theory. Effect is not a polymorphic type. It's not? Effect be... Wait, hold on. So can we not cast up to... From the... What? That doesn't make sense. I'm a little confused. I kind of thought that's how that worked. Initial value of reference to non-const must be an L value. The operand of runtime must have a polymorphic class type. Is it not polymorphic? I don't understand that part. Like, it should be. Unless I do like... Because even then, right? Like we did test, which apparently that doesn't work. This does work though, which is interesting. Like we can downcast it, but we can't upcast? Question mark? This is on line 115. Yeah, it says effect A is not polymorphic type. Am I like looking at the wrong class? Is there another one and I'm not realizing? I mean, I guess like even if it's an empty struct, it should be fine, right? Is it because it's an empty struct? I don't think so. I don't think that matters. Cannot convert from initializer list to effect ref. Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait. Let me get rid of stuff and just start with the blank slate because I have too much stuff going on. I just don't want to get like confused. Okay. Let's just do this. So class A, right? That's your base class, and then we have a class B derived from class A, and a C derived from B, or A. So C and B derived from A, right? We use B as a test. We can downcast an A, right? Should be able to. Conversion to an accessible base class is not allowed. Public. And then let's do a cast to a C. And then we get this problem. Which is weird. It's very weird. And I'm not quite understanding. Operand of runtime dynamic cast must have a polymorphic class type. Oh, that's wonderful. E0698. I think that just doesn't start. Okay. That's not what I wanted. Visual Studio. That's also not what I wanted. Okay, let's just look that up. Trying to find a place to copy it. It won't let me. See declaration of... Wait a second. That's old. Wait a second. Why is it talking about effect A? Okay, example B is not polymorphic type. Yeah. So why? And this is what I want to look for real quick. Oh, maybe it needs like a virtual function. That's right. It needs like a virtual function, right? Otherwise it's not polymorphic. Like, I think just a... Because, like, technically this won't construct under A. Well, A is the default constructor, though. So in theory that does do what it's supposed to do. I wonder if the... I'm not sure if the... I forget. Let me see. Effect. Effect... is the constructor virtual? No. Just, it has virtual functions. Do you have to define a virtual function for it to be polymorphic at all? Like, virtual... void test. Like, is this an actual requirement to make that work? So, that is interesting. Oh, yeah, it goes away after that. Then it's considered... So, that's actually news to me. You need one virtual function for a class to be... For the class to be considered polymorphic. That's interesting. That's like... It's kind of weird knowledge. Usually you just use it and you don't think about that. But it's not polymorphic until you specify a virtual function. Okay, good to know. So this does work. Now we have to test... Okay, so this was... Now run it. It should crash, right? Okay, so we do get an abort. That's good. And we get the abort on... right to where we wanted. Cool. So that's what we're looking for. Excellent. It crashes right there because it can't dynamic cast from an A to, well, in this case, a B to a C because, well, it just can't. Alright, good. So that does exactly what we want. We don't have to do anything special to make it crash. So this is just, I guess we just use normal dynamic cast for a regular type. And we're dynamic casting to type T reference. Okay, so just like this. That's all we have to do. So I think that resolves our issue because now this, yes, this will be a generic effect, but we know what the type in .get is coming out of it. So we know what we have to cast it to, and so we will. And if it's broken, which it should never be, then this will throw. So I think we're good now. We're happy. And that should fix most of our woes, because the .get probably is used like everywhere to get the resulting effect and then testing if it works or not. So that's just a little mishap on our part for... Like I said, as we actually try to use the implementation, we get to see all the problems that came with our original implementation, which... Once we start using the API, then we realize all the flaws and we get to fix them. Or make amends. So yes. This should compile now though, because now... So my understanding is that you can't have ambiguous type overloads. Something has to be consistent in order for the... return type wise, in order for this to know which of these function operator overloads to choose. Because you can't... You can't discern... Discern? Is that the right word? You can't... Yeah, you can't, like, discern which function to use based off of return type. And we know this just by trying to do function overloads, normally. If you change the return type, but you don't change the arguments, the compiler complains. It doesn't know which one you want to use. So yes, same rules apply, but we have to think in metaprogramming. And that's how we can get to that conclusion. A little tricky. And we're still very new to... Like, all this template stuff is still new. I still have a lot to learn when it comes to it. Just using it for, like, the very basics, right? But to get this standard visit working the way I wanted it to, this is where we got. This is where we got to. You have to learn. Live and learn. Alright, so we're going to try running these test functions again. And hopefully this time it actually succeeds now that, you know, it can actually get the functions and not crash. Or can actually get the effects and not crash. Just waiting to compile the tests, and then we're off. Ding, ding. Get out here, PowerShell. Okay. Hopefully they disappear. Oh, no. We still crash, but for a different reason. So I guess we get to find out why now. And looks like all these crash. Well, we get to do more. Great. Let's see. So line 1951, where it tries to perform the action. So that's inside of, let's see, inside the lambda, line 1. So this is operator, function operator. So that's probably the actual effect running. Oh, wait, right here. Teleport 2. So what's teleport 2? Well, it just requires a pause. So it'd be effect.pause. So this crashed? Exception code C0. Okay. I mean, we're hoping that portals.size is greater than 0. So if this didn't return the right value, then we have a problem. So let's start here and figure out what happened. Because if it returns like 1 exists or more exists, but there isn't one, then that would cause a crash. And this was a more general crash. This wasn't like, oh, the variant can figure it out or anything. Okay, so we're here. We're about to do game get effect. I'm just going to go in here and see what happens. So found effects. So right now, if we get all effects, we're going to end up with 2 lists. So here's get all effects. It's going to return the foreground effect list and the background effect list. It looks like right now there's nothing in either. Which, I mean, fair. So this will return nothing. So nothing was found. So size is 0. That's what we expect. So size is not 0. It should skip, right? Okay. So then what? Then we're here? Let me see. So let's look at the test. The test wants us to say, so there should be a teleport portal spawned. So we're already past that. We're actually here where we performed the ability. So there were no portals, so I think that worked correctly. Teleport portals should be despawned. So what happened, I guess? Because we end up calling like teleport 2. I think that's where we were. Right? So we ended up getting to teleport 2. Let me see. I don't know what we're... Okay, so the teleport 2, what does this function actually do? It sets the state, applies iframes, adds a bunch of effects, plays a sound effect, and then what? Is that it? Then sets the effect of a lifetime variable. Okay, sets the lifetime to 0. So when this happens, and the fade out happens, the effect is essentially about to die. Okay. So we did a game update. It's supposed to die. At least it should be dying after 0.25 seconds. So that's why we wait 0.25 seconds for the fade out part of it. But it never got to that line. It just got to... I guess it's right here, and then... Okay, so we should be in here, and then it adds an effect. Which... This is another blink portal? And then teleports to? Okay. And then what? Adds more effects? That's fine. Let's just get out of here. And keeps going. Then returns true. Okay. Return to true. I don't know why we're... Let me see what the... Well, it didn't crash on error log, so it won't be in here. I'm a little confused. Do we have, like... This almost feels like memory corruption. Like, how did we even get from... So we were here, right? And we called action. And then after this line, we're now in... Here... Which, okay, do call, which is like invoke, right? This is an invoke with the player pointer and a v2d, which is like, that's the cast function. So invoked, teleport to, and then it's dead. Why is it dead? Why is it dead? Is it possible the player pointer is broken or something? Because that would be my guess. I hope the player pointer is not dead. All right, let's back up for a minute to write. I don't know why the call stack doesn't go inside the actual function. All right, so we're gonna have to step through live because this, yeah, that didn't tell us anything. So let's debug to, let's essentially get to the point where it needs to test that first, and then we'll go from there. So we'll go to check in performability. The second time, run, and then we'll just follow the stack marker from here. Okay. That's fine. In here, we got all the way down to action. So let's go all the way... Oh, I went too far. Do it again. I got too excited. One more time. Okay. Here. So yeah, all the way down to here, which should bring us to the invoke ability. Okay, so construct the v2d, that's fine. And now we're in here. Player pointer is currently this, which is valid. At least those values look valid to me. And then we get all the way down to the teleport to call, which is right here. This should be when portals is greater than 0 because we just... we just verified that we had a portal on the previous tick. So portal size is 1. So it's going to execute this teleport to, as we would expect. And this function hopefully is not corrupted. So enter teleport to, get effect. Okay, so get effect. Let's see what happens. So this should get the portal effect, but this just happened. So something broke. Something broke when it attempted to do this. Okay, I have two theories. One is maybe it's the const cast, which very well could be, because this is like kind of an unexplainable thing, right? Like, we literally went to here, so memory broke. I'm thinking it could be memory. Not memory, what do you call it? It could be the const cast. That's what I'm worried about. But the const cast was like a band-aid fix to the compiler complaining to me that I couldn't have a non-cast version of the function. So we have to figure out why that is if we want to fix this. Like, that's the root of the problem. The reason we did the const cast was a Band-Aid fix, but I don't think const cast is the correct play here because, well, it's not supposed to be. If it's const and we const cast it, I think that just screws everything up. So the effect here, oh, that's just, oh, do we know what T is here at this point? This is, well, it says index is -35, which is like, if that's the value of the, in this case, this is a variant, then we just die. We're outside the array, which makes sense why it does what it does, right? Okay, so somehow this got, so these are reference wrappers. Let me think about that for a second. Does that cause problems? Because up to here, the data's good. So let's just look one more time. Let's try to analyze the data around this. Like the portals array itself, the 0th element, which should be the only element, filled, right? Like, is this valid right now? The effect ID is nonsense, so that doesn't look good. Although the effect ID could just be like an uninitialized value. Alright, let me see. How would we get here? Effect ID should be initialized to 0, so something touched it. Something broke everything. So is get effect incorrect then? I guess we have to find out what get effect returns. Because it apparently didn't return the right thing. So found effects, it's supposed to get a reference wrapper of effects. Let's just go in here. Yeah, we gotta start like backtracking to see where everything breaks. Where everything just is no longer matching our expectations. So here, we try copy, so we returned found effects with 0. Nothing was found here. And I thought, originally we checked, oh wait, maybe this is an earlier, no. This is a later one. Okay, so that was the foreground effects, and here's the background effects. So yes, this is correct. But the effect ID is the iffy part. Like, this didn't get set right or something. And it's valueless. So, because it's valueless, I'm like, that doesn't help. That doesn't work, right? So this is supposed to filter. One, it can only filter alive effects. And the type has to be equal to whatever type is passed in through there, which should be valid. That shouldn't change. And then doing a standard ranges to standard vector. I wonder if that's what breaks it. Like, what if it doesn't know it's a standard reference wrapper, and then it's like returning an actual value instead of a reference wrapper, and then it's somehow being converted? Like, in my head, that's what I think is happening. Like, I've always been a little cautious about this, like, automatic template deduction, because I'm like, but how does it know? I mean, it should know by deducing what the type of found effects is. I assume that's the whole point, but let's try it. Okay, let's see. So now, okay, skip the first one, right? Second one. Found effects. Ooh, that looks a lot better. Really? So the issue was the auto deduction? This looks a lot better. Yeah, that's actually correct. Really? That was the issue? I'm a little surprised. So then now we're back here, right? And then we can... Okay, now the code runs again. So... Okay. And the test is now passing. Beautiful. And weird. Now I know that auto-template deduction on standard ranges 2 could be a little funky. That's interesting. So it would allow you to say it's a standard vector, but then what the type is inside the standard vector template might be screwy. Okay. Interesting. New knowledge. New knowledge. Run these real quick, and then we're out of coding time for today, so I'm gonna have to call it. We'll see if these just work. Just out of chance. Looks like not. So we got our work cut out for us next time. There's more to do. But one step closer to a working enchant system. Great. Okay. So that's gonna be for next time. For those of you that tuned in today, thank you for watching. It was good fun. Good fun coding. So we'll write more unit tests tomorrow, after we fix the current unit tests, because these unit tests revealed that our system doesn't quite work in our game yet. Even though it compiles, it doesn't mean it runs. So, yeah. Until next time, for those of you that tune in, bye-bye!